But a quick question, the survey and the appraisal that have been done, who pay for it?
We paid for it.
They should pay for it based on our regulation. If the intention is to do,
The initial
they pay
was
for
we needed to determine what our land value was before we even
we
had the
didn't say
conversation.
we didn't say we wanna sell. They said they wanna buy. They should pay for it based on our ordinance.
Okay, so
That's what it
okay,
is.
so that's fine. But they weren't proposing to buy. They were proposing to do a P3.
Yeah,
They-
but we shouldn't spend
they-
money for the appraisal. They should pay for it based on our code. That's what it is.
Yeah. All
It
right.
would be great if any of that was codified and put in writing for us to approve tonight.
Okay, so how do we go about this? Continue.
I make
this
a
or
motion.
what?
I
What's
make a
the-
motion to give the administration direction to continue and negotiate
Thank
with the client and bring us a proposal.
So I have a motion made by Councilman Benjamin to approve tab J. Do I have a second?
I second it.
I have a second by Councilwoman Keys. All opposed? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. Tab K.
Thank you, and I can't wait to see you again.
Tab K. Proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, calling for a special election to be held on May 1st, 2018 for the purpose of submitting to the electorate.
I'm sorry. For those of you who may not know, Mr. De La Gloria happens to be a former city attorney of North Miami. Right? Am I telling the truth?
All of you who didn't know that, raise your hand.
Alrighty.
I'm gonna start over on tab K. Tab
Sorry.
K is the proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, calling for a special election to be held on May 1st, 2018 for the purpose of submitting to the electorate of the city of North Miami questions regarding whether to issue general obligation bonds in an aggregate principal amount without regard to original issue, discount, or premium not to exceed $120 million to finance the acquisition, construction, renovation, and improvement of various capital improvement projects, providing for conflicts, severability, and for an effective date.
Do you have any? Okay.
Through the mayor,
Okay.
Mike, you gonna?
No, you got it.
Through the mayor. Tab K, when we did approve our item at the last council meeting to move forward with the bond referendum, we had a date of April 24th, I believe, that was the designated date. Once we did send the necessary paperwork down to the elections department, we did receive notice back that that date would be unavailable because they are working on another election during that time. We did speak with the Department of Elections, and we came up with the date of May 1st, which was a date they would approve. So we wouldn't even be here if we would have chose May 1st for the first day and they would have accepted it. We wouldn't even have this item here.
Okay.
It's only because they did, reject the date. So we came back with the next date we could do, which is May 1st, and we're asking your approval.
All right. The public hearing is now open on item K, as in kite.
Specific to the date, too.
Yeah.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive, North Miami, Florida, 33181. Mr. Mayor and City Council, Deputy City Manager, and Deputy City Attorney, how much is this special election going to cost the taxpayers in North Miami?
So our communication.
This item is simply on choosing May 1st. It's not, if we need to have any discussion about the cost, that's going to be something that's going to have to come up. Or meet with the clerk, at a separate meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. William Prevotel, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. I can understand the council's desire to pass the bond, but I think it's also very important to take and to include the broader spectrum of voters. And I think if this is a special election, it's sort of geared to get a select number of people to show up, and a lot of other people who can't show up would not be able to. There is a cost factor to the city to have the special election. There's sort of an inconvenience factor, and there's an honesty factor. And I think it's the honesty factor that's most important. that we really need to be honest with our constituents and have it on a general election day, when it get broadly publicized, when we'll have a broader turnout, and when it could be more openly debated. And, there doesn't have to be a major rush to get this through at this time. It's a very big proposal with many ramifications, and I hope it's given the time and debate that it should require. Thank you.
Public hearing is still open on the item. Item K as in kite. See no one coming. Public hearing is now closed.
Mayor, I have to put something on the record in full disclosure. So, for obvious reasons, my office, me individually, has been in contact with Christina White, our supervisor of election. And like Duke mentioned before, because the dates weren't brought to their attention originally as required by Florida statute, they couldn't accommodate the April 24th date. But just in full disclosure, this is public records, and they sent me an email. The initial recommendation from Christina White, and I have to say because it's public information and I don't want people to think that I'm not being transparent, the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Election initially recommended that we have this particular special election on August 28th. And they said if we don't want the August 28th date, they'll do their best to get us the May 1st date. But we have to make sure we get this resolution passed if we want the May 1st date, and we have to have a certified copy of this resolution on their desk by March 1st. So if this is something that the mayor and council wants to do, we can, but we need to make sure this is approved. And if it's not approved, I have to have it on her desk by March 1st, or it's not going to happen. But in full disclosure, to be completely transparent, the initial recommendation from the Miami-Dade Supervisor of Election that's sent to me by Christina White recommended August 28th. But if we don't want the August 28th date, they're going to do everything they can to accommodate us for May 1st. But we have to have this passed, and I have to have it on their desk, a certified copy of this resolution by March 1st.
Okay, so we have a choice of 28 versus the first.
That's correct, Mayor.
So
Is
when,
it us?
yeah.
I mean, I don't have any issue with the May 8th, May 1st. My suggestion, it was just only suggestion, was perhaps the next week, which would have been May 8th, since our general election is usually the second week of May, which next year will be the second week of May. That was my only thing, but I could care less about which specific date, et cetera, et cetera.
From what I understand, we already picked the date. It's just because they won't be ready and we move it 1 week after. But we already picked April 24
Yes.
in the ordinance already.
Okay, in a motion.
Can I ask a question?
Oh, really?
Mr. Clerk, for the mayor, if you have the information, what is the percentage of turnout for special elections? What was like the turnout? We had a special election for a mayor back in November compared to like the primary election we had.
I can tell you right now, there's going to be significantly higher turnout during either the August 28th regular primary election or the November election that's coming up with the county. Whenever we have an election in conjunction with the state and or the county, we save significant amounts of money. In addition to that, we have significantly high turnout during those particular periods. And that's why, in good faith, Christina White recommended those dates, the August 28th date. In addition to that, something that's important, this ordinance is silent on early voting matters. And so that means that in the event that this is approved on May 1st, again, they're working with us, they're trying their best to work with us. I'm going to have to come up with, because you guys aren't determining whether or not you're going to include early voting dates here, it's going to behoove me as the supervisor of this election to decide what the early voting is going to be, either 4 days or 2 weeks. And that's not, I would want the council to be involved in making that decision as well. But this particular resolution is silent on it. But I was thinking if this resolution is approved as is, I would probably recommend that we just have a 4-day early voting period, 2 weekdays, and maybe a Saturday and Sunday, just that 4 days as opposed to having the 2 weeks. But if this is approved, I'm telling everyone on the record, that's what I'm going to recommend, because it's going to be my call, because it's silent on this resolution. We're just going to have a 4-day early voting period. But to answer your
Mr.
question,
Clerk,
I'm sorry.
That always been the case.
Well, yes, it's always, whenever it's silent.
Always you decided whether it's 2 weeks or 4 days. It's
That's
been like
that's
that.
correct. Because
Yeah.
before it was usually always 2 weeks. What's going to happen now? They're going to wonder why isn't it 2 weeks now? It's simply because we don't have enough time. So for that reason, it's going to be 4 days this cycle, so that we can make sure that absentee ballots are sent out at the right time. Because we're pushing a lot of things all together. But to answer your question, in conclusion, the turnout is significantly higher on the primary election date or the regular general election date, as opposed to a special election where we have our own standalone election. Now, if we would have taken Alex Desume's recommendation, where people are used to coming out the second week of May, that probably would have helped the turnout, but that's not people in North Miami are not used to coming out to vote on May 1st. But to answer your question, that's what it is.
Thank you. My preference would be to go in August, which I stated the last time.
Well, the ordinance is approved. Oh, I mean, the
Okay.
resolution, it's up to the mayor and council. Whatever date you want.
We
you have
already
to-
voted April
We already
24th.
voted
We were gonna
already.
go with the
Just-
24th. It's just a change.
It's just a week
Just a slight
difference.
change made by the county.
But it's your call. It's the mayor and council's call.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve
Second.
tab K for May 1st.
Second.
I have a motion made to approve tab K for May 1st. That motion was made by Councilman Galvin. The motion was seconded by Mayor Smith Joseph. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Item passes with a 4-1 vote. Tab L, proposed resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, authorizing the city manager and city attorney to take all necessary action required to fund and implement an educational campaign for North Miami residents in preparation for the general election bond special election on May 1st, 2018, providing for an effective date and for all other purposes.
Mr. Mayor, through you to the manager. What is the dollar amount that you're asking us to approve this evening?
Clerk.
The dollar amount would be not to exceed $130,000, sir.
And why is it that you're, I'm sorry, I'll wait till we got. Sorry. Why is it that you're asking us to approve the $130,000 up to?
Because it is above our $25,000 threshold, we will have to hire a firm to put together the educational package that will be necessary for the campaign. So once we do that, it then to disseminate the educational package as well. So that's why we're asking for money.
Thank you. No, that you just have underlined the point I was trying to make a little bit earlier, in that Dixie Highway, when there's a dollar threshold amount and it's above X, then you have to bring it to us. Thank you for the explanation. But if we approve this tonight up to $130,000, and you don't spend that much, you don't have to. You don't
No,
have to spend that
We
much.
will not, we will not spend over what's necessary to fund the educational campaign, sir.
Thank you.
Is this a resolution or this is a?
Yeah.
It's a resolution, sir.
Okay, so after, I'll have some
Yeah.
comments after public hearing.
Oh, yeah, okay. Do you want to present anything before we open it to the public?
Well, we just discussed what it was about, and basically this is the administration coming to this council, asking to approve up to $130,000 for an educational campaign for the election. Individuals do know there's an election. The educational campaign now would disseminate what what the bond calculator, where the bond calculator is, what this is going to cost the average resident. That information is on the website. However, that information still needs to be disseminated to the people. Some people don't have access to computers. Some people are hearing stuff from their neighbors that might not be true. It's just a lot of information that's out there. We want to send out the information so people fully understand what they are voting on that day.
Does that money come in my budget? Because I don't have money right now to have a citywide
You
election.
say you don't have election in your budget.
I do. That's what I'm saying.
We didn't vote for election.
That's
this
my
year.
point. So whenever we have elections,
No.
It's from his.
That's what I'm saying. It's
Elections
my-
are from him.
So this is what I'm wondering. So, do I have to fire people? Like, how am I going to get the money to pay for this election?
Mr. City Clerk,
I have my question.
in your budget, it's not an election year. Election is zero. In your budget,
We
right?
did have a $50,000. We have $50,000 in my election right now in the event that there's a special election. Whenever there's election going on in the city of North Miami, that money comes into our budget because we're the supervisors of election. So it has happened before. For example, when we had the Mocha bond election, the city amended the budget to put money in my budget so that we can pay for the election because we communicate with the supervisors of election. We run elections in the city of North Miami.
Okay, but that's when it's for education. It's not for.
Yeah, that was my question. So
No,
that has nothing to do with
yeah,
us, right?
exactly.
This for
Okay.
education.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mr. Oh, no, well, actually,
Yeah, after
did we open it to the public yet?
No.
Okay, let's open it to the public and then we come back to the dais. Mr. Brian Andrews, welcome among us tonight. I see no one coming. I see one person coming.
We have the authority to do that.
Good evening, Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive. Thank you, Scott, for bringing it up because I had looked on the packet that was presented out to the audience tonight and the dollar amount was not there. If you look at the backup material, the dollar amount was not on the backup agenda packet that was online. So I'm glad to hear that there is actually a cap because it would have been very dangerous to give the city manager an unlimited amount of money. And also dangerous for the council, dangerous for the city attorney, the administration, because if the administration had to spend $200,000-$300,000 and this thing failed, their heads would be on the block. Yeah. If they are successful, nobody's going to care how much money you spent on this item. However, I'm glad to hear that it does not exceed $130,000 because you know what's going to happen. All of you have been involved in campaigns. The best way to get to the majority or a great number of the voters in North Miami is through radio. And you know, when there's an election, the radio becomes so expensive because everybody has the #1 radio program that reaches the most important people, and the rates for advertising just jumps through the roof. So I'm glad that there is a cap and that they're going to have a budget and that the administration is protected and the council is protected by the amount of dollars that you're going to spend on this educational program. Again, the city cannot tell the people to vote for or against it, just that there is an election and what it is about. Thank you very much.
Thank you. With that being said, I want to make one comment. I mean, want to make a point. Huh?
We're not closed.
What is it? Okay, public hearing is not closed because there is no one coming. This is for education, not for campaigning. Because the city cannot be engaged in any campaigning procedure whatsoever.
It'll be strictly educational. Sir.
Strictly educational. Okay, to hire people to do whatever, to distribute flyers and whatever administration decides, to do. So at no point of time should any city dollars be used for any type of campaigning. Just like because we're gonna be campaigning for the bond, but that's gonna be for the activists to do, but not for the city administration.
Yes, sir. It will be strictly educational on our behalf. We will sit down and develop an educational message. Any pro, con that comes from outside influences, and you guys would do that.
Can I, Mr. Mayor? I have 3 questions for you, Mr. Attorney. Where's the 130 coming from?
The 130 would be a budget amendment that we will do for some programming that hasn't happened this year.
Okay,
So we
no,
would
I want to be sure that we're not cutting any programs that are, okay,
No.
that's fine. My other question is, when you said education, this is where I think what Councilman Gavin was saying earlier, that we needed a plan. If you're asking us for 130, when are you going to bring that back to us? I know you mentioned education. Mayor Burns knows how this thing works, kind of lay out the ground plan with radio and all that. So is the idea is to get a firm, and the firm will give you a plan, or you're going to give the firm a scope of service? Now that you have a threshold amount, are you going to put out a bid, or what is that process? Because it's a little bit unclear. I don't really mind the 130. I had some issues with it, but doing a campaign in this longitude of a city might require that amount. But this is where the plan would have come in hand, because we are asking us to approve the 130, and you really don't have, there's nothing for it. So I would like to at least get back some guideline or something. What is this? And thank God the mayor articulate this. It cannot be campaigning. What is that education component encompass? You have the flyer distribution, you have your radio. Is this going to have some TV? All of that. I would like the administration at least to be that transparent, because I think this might have been an item that could have waited for the next meeting, since now we just passed the election. Mr. Clerk, we assuming that it's going to be on, because based on what Mr. Clerk has said, we got to make sure that this gets there by Thursday. If not, we for us to move forward, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Can we just add a dollar amount in the resolution not to exceed 130,000? Can we add that?
Yes.
I was told 120 in the presentation to me. I was told 120.
I asked for 100.
You asked for 100.
I did, and so I would like to hear, where did we get that?
Well, if we.
Somebody, he wants to make a
it-
Mr. Bien-Aimé just made propose an amendment
Not to exceed 130.
to include that in the resolution, because
Yeah,
it's
and
not
that's
in the resolution.
So if the amendment is approved, we can
Include
that in the
Include that
resolution.
language.
Yes.
So, in
Councilwoman.
my presentation, I feel we can do it for 75.
Oh my God, so how did you get to
And
130,
we're
sir?
we're talking 2 months. I think not to exceed 100. I think Councilman DeSilmi, you've got a very
Yes.
good idea that we can start. Let's get our proposals. I mean, if we can go at 75 to 100, and once you bring the
100.
proposals back to us,
When,
if you find out the proposal does in fact, is in fact
But,
125 or 130,
But
we
we
can
just
amend.
put
That's a
numbers
good number.
for education.
Okay,
I mean,
I'll
if
make
you
a
put it
friendly
in there, we're
amendment.
gonna
through the
spend it.
mayor, respect, when we looked at the amount of money that we spent on the educational campaign for MOCA, and it was $86,000 just for MOCA Museum.
Listen,
I hope
Mr.
we don't,
Sawyer.
I hope we don't educate the same way we do it.
There you go. That will give you the answer. Can I? Go ahead, guys. Because Carol will tell you. Carol will tell you, we had less than 10,000
Less than 10,001.
against MOCA,
Less than
and
10,001.
dollars.
Is it 86?
I know.
mean
No,
less than-
they had 86. We had less than 10,000.
Okay, let's make the
So
budget.
yeah, let me make a
He's proposing to
amendment.
include the 120. You want to propose
Yes,
what,
I would like
110?
to 110. Well,
Can I,
yeah, that
can
would
I make
be-
a suggestion? We just throwing numbers.
No, we're not.
We have other bond. Check how much the city of Miami, how much Miami Gardens spend. We can just say 20,000,
Can't we do a
10,000.
can't we do a budget
We're
first,
gonna
come
do
back
that
with
and
the
look
numbers?
good, just by numbers. The administration proposed not.
Propose.
They
Can I-
said not to exceed 130.
Can I make a motion, we continue this until 2 weeks from now when
But we
staff
need to do
brings
it-
back a budget? You don't, Mr. Sawyer, do you need us to approve? You can get on the, go ahead.
I would ask that you make a decision tonight. If it's 120,000, it's 120,000.
I'll make a motion to approve
There was a
80,
proposed
I'll make a motion to
amendment.
approve $80,000, 80.
I-
Or I can motion to continue this until you bring us
I
back
was
a
gonna do
budget that has some
110, so we
substance.
could-
Yeah, but you need to, guys, you need to understand the city of North Miami is a diverse community. You're going to have to do it in Spanish, and people are going to say, oh, there is no Creole, there is no Spanish, there is no African American. You need
I-
to understand those
I
components.
fully agree
That's what the administration said, not to exceed $130,000.
But were there-
Did you make that proposed amendment? Do you want to
Yes,
make it in the form
not,
of an amendment?
yeah, not to exceed $130,000.
But for you have to make the motion.
That's what
and
I'm
with
making the
that
motion,
proposed
with amendment.
Okay, so I have a motion made by Councilman Bien-Aimé to approve
With a
tab
friendly
L
amendment, yes.
with the amendment to include the language not to exceed $130,000.
No, he didn't say 130. He says
Not to exceed 130.
no.
Did I say that correctly? Did I say it
Yes.
correctly, Councilman?
Can't we have a budget
Okay,
first?
so
130, that's what I said.
do I have a second to the motion that Councilman Bien-Aimé just made? There's no second, so that motion fails.
Okay, I want to
I'll
make that
make a
same
motion.
amendment, but for it not to exceed 110,000.
I have a motion made by Mayor Smith Joseph to approve tab L with the friendly amendment to include the language not to exceed $110,000.
I second that.
And that motion was seconded by.
Discussion,
That motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme.
for discussion, Michael.
Okay,
I
go
would like to
ahead.
discuss.
Go ahead, Alex.
Y- Well, he said something, and this is where it gets a little frustrated. Obviously, all four of us give you guys some numbers. I don't know how you got with that number, but anyhow, that's a whole different discussion. I would like to support that. I think that's a decent, I guess, compromise somewhat, from 130 to the 110, and I'm hearing 100, and I'm hearing 80. So I wouldn't mind the 110. Between 100 and 110. That's fine.
Mr. Mayor, for discussion? Mr. Sori? And I'm sorry, got a lot of people coming up here all of a sudden. I'll wait.
So we're gonna send this over. It's getting done. So we're gonna send it over by March.
All right.
Mayor, you might have to sign it in. Though.
I did.
No, but you might, after it's certified, you may have to sign. Okay.
Mr. Sori, when do we get to find out what this money will be spent on? Will we find out ahead of the actual vote, or will we find out after the vote is taken and we get receipts?
Repeat it one more time, sir.
If we approve $110,000 tonight, when do we get a budget on which it will be spent? Will that be given to us before the election, or will we find out after the election when receipts are handed in?
We will determine what the amount's going to be probably within the next 2 weeks. So before the council meeting, we would have now taken our $110,000 that we know we have, and then sit down and come up with the best way to move the educational campaign forward. So we'll have it within 2 weeks because it needs to be on the street by April 1st.
Okay, so you're not gonna just sort of sit back with $110,000 in the bank and come one, come all, submit your,
sir.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll have something by next meeting.
Mr. Mayor.
Actually, in my opinion, I wouldn't bring it back to us, because it's just gonna spur another debate. Put it on the Go Bond website and let everybody know it's
Yeah,
there.
what's going on.
Start making an active use of that website, which is
Excellent idea.
dormant right now.
Quick question.
We have updated the
Um,
website, Councilman,
but
that has all of the
Arthur.
information on it, and we've
States is
approved it.
Yeah, don't go there. The website, don't defend the website. Quick question. So you said you guys will, so within 2 weeks you will have a firm that you guys will select that will direct the outreach component, not the city.
We've selected a firm and have them moving forward within the next.
And how is
2
that
weeks.
process will be done?
We'll sit down with the manager and the attorney and purchasing, and we'll come up with the best way to move forward
Okay,
with it.
thank you. That's all.
Thank you very much.
So Mayor, we
The
do have your
administration gonna
motion.
determine how the money gonna be spent, right? That's what it is. That's what we've been doing.
What we're asking you to approve is
You're
for
gonna
us to give us all necessary action to get an educational campaign done
Yeah,
and
but
move forward.
I know, but you said that prior to that, not the administration will be involved. The administration will be hiring a firm that will be directing, not the city telling that's what we are.
Yes, we're gonna hire.
A firm.
A
So it's
firm,
not
yes.
the city
Oh,
that's
I
going to
got
be
you.
spending the money.
No, I
but-
thought you were trying to say.
No,
we
no.
were coming back.
Okay, I just
So
want to be clear.
but once we hire that firm, so which means the administration will not be doing any education whatsoever? So just that firm is going to be responsible for that?
They'll develop the educational message that we will approve as staff and say, yeah, this is the message. We feel comfortable with this message moving forward. And then they will start disseminating the message
They'll-
all over. We still will have the stuff on our website. We still will be promoted at the public meetings.
Town hall meetings
We
and
still have it
everything.
on social media telling people to get out and vote. We'll have all of that. We'll be doing that ourselves also.
Yeah, to
But,
vote, yeah.
yes.
All right.
So Mayor, we have your motion on the floor, and that motion was seconded by Councilman Bieneme. You guys want me to repeat your motion, or are you good to go? All right, so do I
Second.
have a motion to, all in favor in approving the mayor's motion with his amendment?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. All right, that concludes our agenda.
No, not really. We have reports. We can start from left to right or from right to left.
Public hearing, public forum.
Oh, public citizen forum is now open before we do reports.
Jim Garrett, 11610 North Bay Shore Drive, North Miami, Florida, 33161. As a concerned citizen and an educator, I would like the our local law enforcement agency to provide a report on how the techniques and prevention strategies and preventing a similar situation like they had at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. We have 8 elementaries in this school, in this city. We have two middle schools and 2 senior highs and 2 universities, 1 public and 1 private. I think a discussion needs to be open to the public, and the police department should lead that discussion and offer their strategies in trying to prevent a similar situation like it happened in Parkland. Thank you.
Lynn Prevotella, 11950 North Bay Shore Drive. You'll have to pardon me, 8 days ago I went out for a run at 2 o'clock in the morning, came back, lost my hearing. Long story short, I have complete hearing loss in my right ear and lose my balance, and there's a fog going on. So if I'm speaking too loud or too low, I apologize. I'd like to follow up. Earlier today, I picked up my wife from the airport, and we went over to Stoneman Douglas High School. And if you have not been up there, it's probably worth the trip just to make it indelible in your mind. It reminds me of having visited Oklahoma City and seeing the memorial after, just recently, years after the bombing. And the assemblage of sentiments that are there remind me of 9/11 in New York afterwards. And what struck me was that it's just not another shooting, but it's really more indicative of our entire country and how it seems to be rapidly coming apart at the seams in many ways in terms of a lack of respect, a lack of knowledge, degradation of our entire system. And the reason I bring it up is that I would like our city to be very much aware of that and try to promote, a better, healthier, more conscientious city environment, and to guard against what is really not necessarily just this shooting, but sort of a rise of very real fascism that's on the horizon. And if it doesn't get cut down soon and redirected, we're going to face the consequences, and they'll be very severe. People have already been suffering, such as workers' rights and safety issues, and people are already dying. People are being terrorized by taking and ripping apart their families. I'd like our city to be aware of that and to create a better environment. Thank you.
Citizens Forum is still open.
Good evening, everyone. I've been here before, and I'm sorry to keep on, but I paid my water bill, then I realized the date that my water was turned off for is 2014, 2013, 2012. That's after I paid it. I honestly to God, I was sleeping and I paid the bill, and I think to give me peace because my blood pressure been, you are a doctor, Dr. Simmons, my blood pressure been so bad, the doctor keep on changing my medicine, and because this been going on since 2016. I came 2016 when the first $600 went on my bill, because it was a $600 that I paid in September. And I came downstairs, and I've tried to speak to them to find out why the bill keep on going back. But so far, this $600 get back on my bill 2 other times. I have the paper here to prove it. I have the document to prove that it's been there. That on my son bill, my son hadn't had a meter since August, because the kids refused to pay the money. And I don't blame them, because they don't hold the money. And I mean, I tried to get somebody to help me. If I was wrong, I'm pretty sure he was supposed to help me, and nobody helps me. Nobody really. I've been trying so hard. It's almost 16, 17, no, 18. And I don't understand why my son water and my water was cut off for 2020. Our bill says 20, his own says 2015, 2014, 2013, and 2012. I paid a lot of money in those times. And if I had a problem, why they
All right,
gonna wait
thank you very much, ma'am. You've had your 2 minutes, and as you know, and we've done it before, this is a utility bill. That complaint should have gone straight to the utility department.
But I went.
We've done the best we can do. We cannot make any decision whatsoever about your utility
But
bill.
Mr. Mayor, you are
This
the
is
mayor.
for administration to handle, ma'am.
But
We've gone this way before. I do not want to discuss this tonight.
You'll hear from my.
Yes.
I'm going to sue the city of North
Go
Miami
ahead.
because you know why?
Citizen Forum is still open for the next person.
You all ripping me off, and then you all don't want to fix it.
We've done this
The
before.
$600 have been there 3 times already.
Where's the director of utility department?
We did
Yeah,
try to.
You don't need to explain anything. I just Citizen Forum is still open. I see no one coming to the mic, so Citizen Forum is now closed. Any reports from the dais?
Mayor, by the way, if any council member have any appointments to make to the charter board, can you please do that during your report so I can write it down, please?
Yeah, you can do it when we get to you. When we get to you.
Yeah, when we get to you.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
I just want to say, I had the opportunity yesterday to meet with 20 students from North Miami Senior High who are just starting a new 7-month study at CBT College. This is a program that was sponsored and created by Solamia as part of their local preference program. They are paying for, and these students are going to be getting, these are going to be in the construction field. These are engineering students. They're going to have dual enrollment. It is just a tremendous opportunity for these kids. They were so excited. They're getting college credit, a little early release from the high school. So I want to thank North Miami High, the principal and staff, for getting this done. And Solamia, I think this is just a tremendous project for our students, especially our local students. So that was a really good thing that we were able to do yesterday.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just 2 quick things for staff on the Lime bike issue. I'm starting to hear the drumbeat of complaints of bikes being abandoned and left throughout the city. I recognize that the organization ran into some issues with their app that allowed people to use their first free ride to sort of ride for an unlimited time. And I recognize it takes time to work out the kinks. But just as an FYI, I'm not sounding the alarm yet. I'm just letting you know I'm seeing the smoke signals on the horizon. I had 2 totally unconnected complaints about it today, that there are too many Lime bikes laying around the city. So anything he can do to communicate that to the vendor is appreciated. And I know a couple of the speakers tonight brought up the very, very tragic shooting in Parkland. As you know, the students are coordinating their own rally in Washington, D.C. on March the 24th, where students from around the nation will come to demand action on the issue of gun safety. I'm happy to let you know I'm working with the principals at North Miami High and Alonzo Morning High, and those schools will be putting together a bus that will go here from North Miami up to Washington, D.C. To attend that route. Yeah, on a bus. We're not bougie like you. We don't have that kind of budget. But there will be a contingent of North Miami students up there at that rally, and I'm very, very thankful to the principals at both of those schools for being willing to let their students go on a trip. Yes, you're right, it's going to be a long one, but it will be very much worthwhile because this is the moment of these students' life. This is their moment when they're stepping into the leadership, future leadership of this country. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and that's all I've got.
Thank you.
Is
it me, Mr.? Oh, 3? You want to do 3 or you go like this? No, you should go last. Okay, you go last. Actually. I want to take this opportunity just to thank staff. Okay, well, that's exactly what we're talking about. He said, don't talk about black people. That's exactly what we're going to do. That's exactly what we're going to do. I want to thank staff for a phenomenal Black History Month. Started with Patrick Duval that came to our city. Evening of Honors was last Friday, where we honor B. Hines from the Miami Times, John Yearwood of Yearwood Media, but former editor of the Caribbean for the Miami Herald, Ian Lewis of Circle House Production, Ted Lucas of Slip and Slide Records, and also the great pioneer the owner of the Miami Times, who's been a resident of our city for over 25 years, Garth C. Reeves Sr. They were honored on Friday, and what can we say about Saturday? Oh my God, the reviews, folks from everywhere in South Florida. I think we have become the premier city to be for every staff member that was there. Kudos. We truly, truly appreciate it. This was a really fun event. The lineup was amazing. We had Chubb Rock as our official, I guess, honorary host. Evelyn Champagne King, Karen White, and Drew Hill, and we had a commissioner from another city who came out to our event. I think we had over thousands of folks here, and I think the venue is getting too small, but North Miami is certainly becoming the premier event for this. West Palm Beach is talking about us. We were talking about it on the radio, how North Miami is doing this. It's kind of like this thing giving back to the community. So I just want to thank staff and a wonderful, wonderful event for this year and for all the hard work we do. And we're going to start Black History early. Well, at least a portion of Music in the Plaza early this year. Thank you.
Mr. Clerk, can we appoint Emmanuel Gentil?
Absolutely. Would you like to make that
board?
Would you like to make that an at-large appointment or
No,
your personal appointment?
Personal appointment.
And his name is Emmanuel Gentil.
Gentil.
Okay. All right, I got it. So I guess I'll get a vote towards the end after your report. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's in my report.
Oh, okay.
I'll move approval of Mr. Gentil.
Well, before we do that, anyone else have any appointments to make?
But we didn't know we were doing it
Well,
now.
I think, McDermott, is he my appointee?
He's already your appointee. That's correct, Mayor Joseph. So, but you have two options, two at-large appointee options.
Okay, I believe each is on it as well, no?
No, he's not. Would you like to make an appointment of Keach?
Well,
Yeah, at one of the at-large.
If I might, just to be sure, I may have appointed, I looked up the minutes. In October of 2017, I attempted to appoint Miss Sherry Doctor to the Charter Review Board because she had long been my appointee. There seems to be some sketchy info that she might have moved out of the city, and I might have appointed Mr. Each already. So
okay.
if you're sure that I have not, and somebody can, I appointed somebody that night, and because we only have, we don't have verbatim minutes online, we only have summary minutes online. I'm honestly not sure who I appointed, even though the website currently says Sherry Doctor. So.
Yeah, so on August 22nd, the only appointment you made on that particular day, Councilman Galvin, was, I'm going to tell you who.
This is October. I'm talking October of 2017.
October 10th, 2017. On that particular date, there were no board appointments made on that date. The board appointments were made on August 22nd, and some were made September 26th. But on August 22nd, you did appoint someone, but it was Clark Reynolds to the Downtown Action Plan Advisory Committee. I have the minutes here. But
I'll go with it, but we really need to yank up because I've got the actual emails. I forwarded to you while this meeting was going on, where it was discussed that Ms. Doctor would be appointed.
I think what probably happened was the whole moving thing, and you weren't entirely sure. But on that day, if the appointments were made, they'll be part of the minutes. Because what they do, they look at the tape, and then they make sure they get that accurately.
You showed me something before we sat down tonight that showed Mr. Each's name as my appointee.
Well, that's what we had. We had the discussion before. Online, that stuff's incorrect. But the administration's working
to correct.
Okay,
all
so I will remove my appointment.
No,
for Mr.
you need
Each.
to make your appointment because each,
I'll go with it. I'll go with it. But I just
Right.
know we might have just appointed Mr. Each twice.
right.
No. I will.
He's
yield
not
to you.
appointed
I will
to the
yield
board, Mayor. That's what I'm telling you. Kenneth,
I bow to the clerk.
right. Kenneth, so you can make your
Who are
at-large
you
appointment.
appointing then?
I'm not appointing anybody tonight.
Okay.
Because I was under the impression before I sat down tonight, I already had somebody on the board,
You
so I
want
did
to
not
appoint
give
her
consideration.
tonight?
I don't believe Ms. Doctor still lives in the city of
In the
North
city?
Miami.
Okay.
Did you say
Either
Kenneth
way,
Each? Oh, no.
as my butt hit this chair tonight at about 7 o'clock, I was under the impression that either Mr. Each or Ms. Doctor was my appointee. So I've not given any consideration to who else might be my appointee. Now that I'm learning I don't have an appointee, see you in 2 weeks.
Got it.
Okay, and
Can I?
Go ahead.
can I? Okay, go
Oh,
ahead.
you have to
You
appoint.
made an appointment. You
No,
have-
I want to appoint Jeff Mondesi at large.
But he
also.
just did.
Jeff
One
Mondesier.
personal, one at large.
Yeah,
Jeff Mondesi.
got it.
Okay.
So now the at-large appointments are good to go. Mayor Smith Joseph appointed Kenneth Each, and Councilman Bieneme just appointed Jeff Mondesier. So the question becomes, and I already know that Councilman Galvin will not be making an appointment tonight. So Councilman Desime and Vice Mayor Keys, any
Wait.
appointments from you guys?
Can we make an? So the at-large already taken, or
The at-larges are already filled. That's correct.
what do you mean?
If
We
we
didn't vote for it. Yeah.
Well, meaning that there's names. I'm writing names down, and we're
Okay,
gonna get
so
a
you
motion
can
in
write other
second.
names down,
Next
right?
meeting, I'll appoint somebody.
Yeah, so, all right, so let me do this then. With the names that I
Give it
have
to me.
right now, I'm gonna go ahead and, okay, do I have a motion to approve the following
No,
appointments?
wait, Mike.
Mhm.
Can you get my name, Mr. Clerk, or how you doing it?
Yeah, so we
the
can
same
get,
way we've been doing it. People
Right.
suggest and we
Hold on,
vote
Councilman.
generally.
yeah, so,
you
That's
nominate
what I've been doing.
someone, you appoint someone, and then we take a vote.
right, they're correct, Councilman Desmond. So right now, you can make your appointment, but with regards to the at-large,
That's what I'm
they're
saying.
already filled now?
He said-
They're
Yeah, but
not
you
filled
still
until
have,
we
you
vote.
Until
still
the
have
vote.
one
No,
appointment.
I know, but I
Yeah.
wanted to.
Okay, you want to
fine.
appoint two, but
That's
someone-
fine.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? That's fine. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. I think I might wait for 2 weeks also.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve the following appointments
Carol,
made?
have a talk.
No, she said she's gonna make her appointments in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so as of now, Mayor Smith Joseph made an at-large appointment, appointing Kenneth Each.
Nomination. He's making a nomination.
All right, he's nominating Kenny Each to the Charter Board as an at-large appointment, and then Councilman Bieneme have made an at-large appointment of Jeff Mondesier, and Councilman Bieneme have also made his personal appointment of Emmanuel Genti. Those are 3 individuals. So I have a motion to approve those nominations.
So move. Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Desime to approve the nominations as stated on the record. That motion was seconded by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. So at this time, Madam City Attorney, we do have.
Wait, Mr. Michael. I got my personal appointment. Ludwig Joseph.
May you spell the first name, please?
Ludvy.
V.Y. Joseph. Okay.
You have to take another vote on that, just one person.
Yeah.
I'll second Mr. Joseph's nomination.
Okay, so I have a motion made by Councilman Desime to appoint Ludwig Joseph to the Charter Board. That motion was second, by Councilman Galvin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Item passes with a 5-0 vote. So, Madam, I know I was pressured to do this, 'cause this was important. So we do have, for the record, Mayor and Council, a quorum for the Charter Board to meet. And just for the record, as of now, the Charter Board members are Michael McDermott, Kenny Each, Emmanuel Genti, Jeff Mondesier, and Ludwig Joseph. And the liaison to the Charter Board is Deputy City Manager Arthur H. Sorey III. All right, we're good? And I don't have no reports, Mayor.
Okay, any report from the city attorney?
No report
Deputy
this evening.
DCM? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you very much. Have a blessed weekend. I mean, not weekend, evening. The week just started.